This video is brought to you by the Battle Zoo Bestiary, a new book with over 100 award-winning monsters and other resources from Paizo lead designer Mark Cypher. Sign up today at kickstarter.rollforcombat.com and join the campaign when it launches on August 31st. Hey everybody, Dave here with another Pathfinder rule reminder for you, and today we are following up on my previous rule reminder that was all about setting DCs, and in this one I'm going to kind of expand on that topic and share a few things that I had to cut out of that video for time, as well as diving a little bit more into reasons and ways to adjust a DC once you have it set. So the first thing I want to share is that when you are using simple DCs like we discussed in the previous rule reminder, even though you use proficiency levels as a guide to set those, you say to yourself, well, what proficiency level do I expect someone to have to be in order to succeed at this task? There is no hard rule that says that that becomes the minimum proficiency level that a person needs to have. So for example, if you look at a lot of hazards in some other areas, there might be mentions of a minimum proficiency level required to do a thing or to succeed at a stealth check against something that is hidden. There is no such rule when using simple DCs that says if you use expert proficiency as your guideline for setting that proficiency, that the player or other character must have a minimum proficiency level of expert in order to succeed at that task. Now, when it comes to adjusting a DC once you have the base DC for it set, in the last video I talked about things like using a lore skill, and lore skills, when you're using them for recall knowledge and similar applications, you typically start at a DC that is easy instead of standard, so it's one step down from normal, and that reduces the DC by 2. And we also talked about adjusting due to rarity. In addition to those two reasons for adjusting DCs, the other reason that I find that I most often adjust DCs is if the character wishes to use a skill that is not ideal for the situation, may not be the specific skill that is called out in the rules to be used, but that I feel like it should be within the realm of possibility for a person to use to succeed at a given task. So, for example, in the last video, I used an example of there's a crime scene, there's a dead body, and someone wants to identify what kind of poison was used to murder this victim. Well, that raises the question of what skill do you use. If it's an alchemical poison, it would probably be crafting. If you have lore poison, you could use that. But what if someone is very well trained in medicine? They're a doctor, but they don't have training in crafting. Could you use medicine to identify the poison? I think, yeah, that's probably within the same ballpark. I can see that being a reasonable fit. But if the DC is set based on the usual skill, which in this case would probably be crafting if it's an alchemical poison, then I would just raise the DC of that check one step and move it from being standard to making it be hard. And if it is an uncommon poison, then it's going to raise one more step higher, and then the DC is going to be a cumulative +5 difficulty to that check. Don't paint yourself into a corner and say, in a lot of these cases, this is the skill that must be used. If a player has an argument that they should be able to use another skill, as long as it's within the ballpark, then say, yeah, let's do that. Let's use that skill, but raise the difficulty of the DC to match that. And one last tip for handling and adjusting DCs is actually not adjusting DCs, it's about awarding bonuses and penalties to your players. If a player is taking some sort of extra effort to achieve a task, then you can always give them a circumstance bonus. and typically that's going to be a +1 to whatever their check is. So an example of when you might award a circumstance bonus to a skill check, the book talks about using gather information. The standard DC is just for your standard run-of-the-mill gather information check, but you might be using gather information inside your own hometown. So if you're in your hometown and you're doing gather information, well, you've got the home field advantage. The GM can just give you a +1 circumstance bonus to that skill check, or might give you a +2 if they feel like it's really significant to that check. So that's just one example of how you might award just a +1 or +2 bonus or penalty to their checks, in addition to the other ways of adjusting the DC of the check to accommodate for any extra thing that might happen with that character and their environment. So as always, I will make sure that I leave in the description of this video my other videos that talk about DCs, setting DCs, managing DCs and skill checks. If you want more information, make sure you check out the videos linked there. If you have any suggestions for future rule reminders, please let me know in the comments. And as always, I want to take just a quick moment to say thank you to everybody out there who supports me in this channel, whether that's through giving me your ideas, sharing the videos, leaving comments, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, subscribing to the Patreon. It all adds up, and I greatly appreciate everything you folks do to support me. And with that, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.